you ever feel adrift, tossed by the unpredictable waves of your own emotions, impulses, or fleeting desires, as if some unseen current pulls you away from the person you aspire to be? This feeling isn't unique to our modern age. It's a fundamental human challenge, recognized and dissected by wise minds for millennia. They understood that true power, true freedom, begins not with controlling the world outside, but the universe within. What if the greatest empire you could ever rule, the most profound potential you could ever unlock, lies dormant within the borders of your own mind and spirit? Imagine navigating life's inevitable challenges not with frantic reaction, but with centered intention and unwavering purpose. This isn't a fanciful dream. It's the core promise of self-mastery, a concept explored deeply across diverse philosophical and spiritual landscapes. Many seek external solutions, wealth, status, changed circumstances, hoping these will bring peace or fulfillment. Yet, ancient wisdom consistently points inward. It argues that without cultivating inner control, external achievements remain hollow, vulnerable to the whims of fortune and the turbulence of an undisciplined mind. We will journey through the disciplined logic of the Stoics, seeking tranquility amidst chaos. We'll explore the harmonious balance sought by Plato and Socrates within the soul's intricate structure. We'll witness the Buddhist quest to tame the restless monkey mind through profound meditative practices. And we will understand Aristotle's view of virtue as a skill, honed through deliberate, consistent action. The question isn't merely what self-mastery is, but how its principles can be woven into the fabric of your own life. How can these ancient insights translate into tangible practices that foster resilience, focus, and ethical clarity today? Prepare to uncover not just philosophical concepts, but the foundational practices that empower you to steer your own ship, rather than being helplessly carried by the tides. So, what exactly do we mean by self-mastery? At its heart, it signifies the deliberate cultivation of control over one's own inner world. It involves gaining command over impulses that might lead us astray, regulating emotions that threaten to overwhelm our reason, directing our thoughts toward productive ends, and ensuring our actions align with our conscious intentions and chosen values. It's crucial to understand that self-mastery is not about rigid suppression or the denial of our human nature. It isn't about becoming emotionless or robotic. Rather, it's about developing a conscious relationship with our inner states. It's learning to observe our thoughts and feelings without being automatically swept away by them, allowing us to choose our responses wisely instead of being dictated by ingrained habits or momentary whims. Let us first turn to Stoicism, a powerful philosophy forged in ancient Greece and Rome by thinkers like Zeno, Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius. The Stoics were intensely practical, concerned with living a good life, a life of virtue and tranquility in a world often filled with hardship, uncertainty, and chaos. Their central insight was that while we cannot control external events, we can control our internal responses to them, specifically our judgments and perceptions. The Stoics taught that destructive emotions like excessive anger, fear, or grief arise not directly from events themselves, but from our judgments about those events. If we judge losing wealth as catastrophic, we suffer intensely. If we judge criticism as a personal attack, we feel anger. Self-mastery for the Stoic involves examining these judgments, challenging irrational beliefs, and aligning our perceptions with reason and the natural order of things. Central to Stoic self-mastery is the concept of preferred indifference. Things like health, wealth, and reputation are preferred. It's natural to desire them, but they are ultimately indifferent to our virtue and happiness, which depends solely on our inner state and rational choices. Discipline, for the Stoic, wasn't punishment but training. Practices like negative visualization, contemplating potential hardships to appreciate the present and prepare mentally, self-denial, occasionally embracing discomfort to build resilience, and constant self-monitoring of one's thoughts and reactions were tools for strengthening the rational mind's command over impulses and emotions. It was about forging character through consistent, conscious effort aligned with nature and reason. Now let us travel further back to the foundations of Western philosophy with Socrates and his student Plato. For them, self-mastery was intimately linked to self-knowledge. The famous dictum, "Know thyself," inscribed at the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, was central. They believed that understanding the structure of one's own soul or psyche was the essential first step toward achieving inner harmony and control, which was prerequisite for virtue. Plato, particularly in works like the Republic, described the soul as having three parts: the rational part, logos, associated with reason and truth-seeking; the spirited part, thymos, connected to emotions like anger, courage, and ambition; and the appetitive part, eros, driven by base desires for food, drink, sex, and comfort. True self-mastery in this view occurs when the rational part, guided by wisdom, governs the other two parts harmoniously. When the appetites or the spirited part usurp control, the soul falls into disarray, leading to vice, unhappiness, and poor choices. An individual ruled by appetites becomes enslaved to pleasure and possessions. One ruled by unchecked spirit might be recklessly aggressive or vainly ambitious. Only when reason holds the reins, directing the spirit toward noble goals and keeping the appetites in check, can the individual achieve justice within themselves and act virtuously in the world. The Socratic method itself, a process of relentless questioning aimed at uncovering assumptions and contradictions in one's beliefs, is a form of intellectual self-mastery. By examining our own thoughts and definitions, we refine our understanding and strengthen the rational faculty. Knowing oneself, therefore, isn't just passive awareness. It's an active process of philosophical inquiry that disciplines the mind and empowers reason to lead the soul effectively toward the good life. Journeying east, we encounter Buddhism, which offers profound techniques for mastering the mind, often described metaphorically as a restless monkey or a wild elephant, constantly jumping, easily distracted, and difficult to control. The core problem identified in Buddhism is suffering dukkha, which arises from craving, aversion, and ignorance. Self-mastery within this framework is the path to alleviating suffering by purifying the mind and gaining insight into the true nature of reality. Central to Buddhist self-mastery are practices like meditation, specifically developing concentration samadhi, and insight panna or vipassana. Concentration practices, such as focusing on the breath, train the mind to stay settled on a single object, reducing distraction and strengthening mental discipline. This calm, focused state allows for the arising of insight, a clear seeing into the impermanent, unsatisfactory, and selfless nature of phenomena, including one's own thoughts and feelings. Through sustained mindfulness and insight meditation, one learns to observe the arising and passing of thoughts, emotions, and sensations without identifying with them or reacting habitually. This non-reactive awareness weakens the grip of unwholesome mental states like greed, hatred, and delusion. It cultivates equanimity, a balanced state of mind that remains steady amidst life's ups and downs. The Buddhist path emphasizes ethical conduct, sila, as foundational to mental discipline. Actions driven by greed, hatred, or delusion disturb the mind and hinder concentration. Therefore, cultivating virtues like non-harming, honesty, and generosity creates a conducive inner environment for developing mastery over the mind. Ethics, concentration, and wisdom work synergistically, each supporting the others on the path toward liberation from suffering through self-mastery. Returning to ancient Greece, we find Aristotle, Plato's student, offering another vital perspective on self-mastery, focusing on the cultivation of virtue through habit. For Aristotle, virtue isn't merely an intellectual understanding. It's a disposition to act in the right way, developed through consistent practice until it becomes second nature. Self-mastery involves intentionally choosing virtuous actions repeatedly, thereby shaping one's character over time. Aristotle famously described virtue as a mean between two extremes, excess and deficiency. For example, courage is the mean between cowardice, deficiency, and recklessness, excess. Generosity is the mean between stinginess and extravagance. Finding this golden mean requires practical wisdom, phronses, and self-control. It means understanding the right way to feel and act in specific situations, and having the mastery over one's impulses to actually do so. According to Aristotle, we become just by doing just acts, temperate by doing temperate acts, brave by doing brave acts. Self-mastery, therefore, is built through action. It requires consciously identifying the virtuous path and then deliberately practicing those actions, even when it's difficult or goes against our immediate inclinations. Over time, these repeated actions carve grooves in our character, making virtuous behavior feel more natural and requiring less conscious effort. This process isn't passive. It demands self-awareness to recognize our tendencies towards excess or deficiency and the discipline to counteract them. If one tends towards anger, excess, practicing patience and restraint builds the virtue of mildness. If one tends towards fear, deficiency, deliberately facing manageable challenges builds courage. Aristotle's approach emphasizes that self-mastery is an active, lifelong project of character development through habituation. Across these diverse traditions, Stoic rational governance, Platonic soul harmony, Buddhist mental calming, Aristotelian habituation, a clear convergence emerges. Self-mastery, the disciplined cultivation of control over one's inner world, is consistently presented as fundamental to unlocking human potential and living a fulfilling, flourishing life. It's the common thread linking inner peace, ethical conduct, and the ability to act purposefully in the world. But what are the tangible benefits of undertaking this often challenging path of self-mastery? Why invest the effort in cultivating inner discipline? The advantages are profound and touch nearly every aspect of human experience, enhancing our capacity to navigate life effectively and meaningfully. These benefits are not merely abstract ideals. They manifest as practical improvements in our daily lives and long-term well-being. One of the most immediate benefits is increased focus and concentration. In a world saturated with distractions, the ability to direct and sustain attention is a superpower. Practices inherent in self-mastery, whether Stoic self-monitoring, Platonic reason-led focus, or Buddhist concentration meditation, train the mind to resist distraction and stay centered on the task or intention at hand, leading to greater productivity and deeper engagement with life. Enhanced emotional regulation is another key outcome. Self-mastery equips us to understand, manage, and respond constructively to our emotions, rather than being overwhelmed or controlled by them. This doesn't mean suppressing feelings, but developing the capacity to experience them fully without letting them dictate irrational or harmful actions. This leads to greater inner stability, improved relationships, and more thoughtful decision-making, especially under pressure. Cultivating self-mastery inherently builds resilience. By learning to manage internal reactions to external events, Stoicism, understanding the roots of suffering, Buddhism, or practicing virtue even in hardship, Aristotle, we develop the psychological fortitude to withstand adversity. Setbacks are viewed not as crushing defeats, but as opportunities for growth and demonstrations of inner strength. Furthermore, self-mastery is intrinsically linked to ethical behavior. When reason governs the soul, Plato, when actions align with virtue, Aristotle, Stoics, and when the mind is free from greed and hatred, Buddhism, ethical conduct naturally follows. Mastering impulses and cultivating virtues like honesty, compassion, and justice allows individuals to act in ways that benefit themselves and others, contributing to a more harmonious society and personal integrity. Finally, self-mastery is crucial for achieving meaningful long-term goals. Pursuing significant achievements almost always requires sustained effort, overcoming obstacles, delaying gratification, and staying committed despite difficulties. The discipline, focus, and resilience fostered by self-mastery provide the internal resources needed to persist on challenging paths, turning aspirations into reality rather than letting them remain fleeting wishes scattered by momentary distractions or discouragement. Understanding the philosophies and benefits is inspiring, but the crucial question remains: how can one begin to practice self-mastery in daily life? The journey doesn't require retreating to a monastery or becoming a full-time philosopher. It starts with incorporating simple, yet profound, practices that cultivate self-awareness and discipline gradually. These are accessible tools drawn from the very traditions we've explored. One foundational practice is mindfulness, drawn heavily from Buddhist tradition but applicable universally. This involves paying deliberate attention to the present moment, your breath, bodily sensations, thoughts, emotions without judgment. Even short daily sessions of mindful breathing or mindful walking can train the mind to be less reactive and more aware, creating space between stimulus and response, which is essential for conscious choice and emotional regulation. Journaling for self-reflection is another powerful tool, echoing the Stoic practice of reviewing one's day and the Socratic emphasis on self-examination. Regularly writing down your thoughts, feelings, challenges, and reactions helps you understand your own patterns. Ask yourself, what triggered my anger today? Did I act in line with my values? Where did I exercise restraint? Where could I improve? This practice illuminates the inner landscape, making conscious change possible. Setting clear intentions is crucial for directing your actions purposefully. Before starting your day or undertaking a significant task, take a moment to define your intention. What quality do you want to embody? Patience, focus, kindness. How do you intend to respond to potential challenges? This proactive approach, aligning with Stoic and Aristotelian principles, shifts you from a reactive mode to a deliberate one, guiding your behavior throughout the day. Practicing discipline in small, daily actions builds the muscle of self-control, as Aristotle suggested. Choose one small area where you tend to lack discipline, perhaps resisting a specific indulgence, sticking to a short exercise routine, reading a few pages of a challenging book, or practicing active listening when you'd rather interrupt. Consistently exercising discipline in these minor ways strengthens your overall capacity for self-governance in more significant matters. Honestly identifying personal weaknesses or areas needing improvement is vital, aligning with the Socratic know thyself. We cannot master what we do not acknowledge. Reflect on recurring patterns of behavior or emotional responses that cause suffering or hinder progress. Are you prone to procrastination, impulsive spending, excessive worry? Acknowledging these without harsh self-judgment is the first step toward applying targeted practices to address them directly, fostering growth and change. Consider the Stoic practice of anticipating challenges. Before entering a potentially difficult situation, a stressful meeting, a challenging conversation, mentally rehearse how you wish to respond. Anticipate potential triggers and decide beforehand how you will maintain your composure and act virtuously. This mental preparation arms your rational mind, reducing the likelihood of being hijacked by emotional reactivity when the actual situation unfolds, enhancing your control. Embrace discomfort voluntarily, another Stoic technique. Occasionally choose to forego a minor comfort, take a cold shower, fast for a short period if health permits, endure slight boredom without reaching for distraction. These small acts of voluntary hardship build resilience and demonstrate to yourself that you can endure discomfort, weakening the power that fear of discomfort holds over your choices and strengthening your resolve. Cultivate gratitude, regularly reflecting on what you have, rather than focusing on what you lack, shifts perspective and counters the insatiable nature of desire that Plato and Buddha warned against. Gratitude fosters contentment and reduces the emotional turmoil caused by envy or craving. It grounds you in the present reality and appreciates the preferred indifference you do possess, without clinging desperately to them, promoting inner peace. Practice empathetic listening in your interactions. Strive to understand others' perspectives without immediately imposing your own judgments or reactions. This requires controlling the impulse to interrupt, argue, or mentally rehearse your response. It fosters the Platonic ideal of reason guiding emotion and the Buddhist virtue of compassion, strengthening interpersonal skills while simultaneously exercising internal control over reactive tendencies. Remember that self-mastery is not a destination but a continuous journey. There will be setbacks, moments where impulses win or emotions overwhelm. The key is not perfection, but persistent practice and self-compassion. View failures not as reasons to give up, but as opportunities to learn, refine your approach, and reaffirm your commitment, echoing the Aristotelian focus on ongoing habituation and character development. It's essential to reiterate that true self-mastery leads not to repression, but to liberation. By gaining conscious control over the inner world, we are freed from the tyranny of unconscious habits, reactive emotions, and fleeting desires. We become architects of our own responses, capable of choosing actions aligned with our deepest values and long-term goals, rather than being puppets pulled by internal and external strings. This is freedom in its most profound sense. This inner freedom allows for more authentic expression and connection. When we are not constantly battling inner turmoil or driven by insecurity, we can engage with the world and with others from a place of centeredness and clarity. Our actions become more intentional, our relationships more genuine, and our contributions more meaningful. Self-mastery unlocks the potential not just for personal peace, but for positive impact on the world around us. The philosophies we've touched upon, Stoicism, Platonism, Buddhism, Aristotelian ethics, offer rich, detailed maps for this journey of self-mastery. While their specific techniques and metaphysical frameworks differ, they all fundamentally agree. The quality of our lives is profoundly shaped by the degree to which we cultivate governance over our own minds, emotions, and actions. The path inward is the path toward potential. To summarize the core insights, self-mastery is the cultivated ability to consciously direct your thoughts, regulate your emotions, control your impulses, and align your actions with reason and virtue. It is not suppression but liberation through awareness and discipline. It requires knowing yourself, understanding the nature of your inner world, and engaging in consistent practices that strengthen your capacity for self-governance. Key traditions provide distinct approaches. Stoicism emphasizes mastering judgments and focusing on inner virtue amidst uncontrollable external events. Plato highlights the harmony of the soul achieved when reason governs spirit and appetite, rooted in self-knowledge. Buddhism offers techniques like meditation to tame the restless mind, overcome suffering-causing states, and cultivate insight. The benefits are manifold: increased focus, better emotional regulation, heightened resilience against adversity, more consistent ethical behavior, and a greater ability to achieve long-term goals. These aren't abstract ideals but practical enhancements to living a more effective, meaningful, and fulfilling life. They stem directly from the inner order and strength cultivated through disciplined practice of self-awareness and self-control. Practical steps to begin this journey include mindfulness practices, reflective journaling, setting clear daily intentions, practicing discipline in small matters, identifying and working on personal weaknesses, anticipating challenges, voluntarily embracing minor discomforts, cultivating gratitude, and practicing empathetic listening. Consistency and self-compassion are key. It's a lifelong process of growth, not a quest for immediate perfection. The pursuit of self-mastery is perhaps one of the most profoundly human endeavors we can undertake. It is the active engagement with our own consciousness, the deliberate shaping of our character, and the claiming of responsibility for our inner state and outward actions. It transforms us from passive reactors to conscious creators of our experience, unlocking potential that might otherwise remain dormant throughout our lives. As we conclude this exploration, the ancient question echoes: to what extent are you the master of your inner domain? The insights from these diverse philosophical traditions offer not just a challenge, but a hopeful affirmation that greater self-possession, resilience, and alignment with our values are achievable through conscious effort. The key lies within, waiting to be turned through awareness and discipline. What small step will you take today on the path toward unlocking your own potential through self-mastery?